It's a long way back to harmony.
We're glad to have you all here. And are you going to say something? Was I going to put you on the spot? I thought I was putting Sister Catherine on the spot, so let's do that.
Good evening, everyone. I am Sister Catherine Feely. I'm the director of the Center for Service Learning and Social Action here at John Carroll. And we are pleased and proud to welcome you all to this special event this evening to celebrate the 50th anniversary of International Partners in Mission. The work of IPM is transformative. And it is light, it is hope, it is community, it is all those things that we celebrate for the world in need of such light and hope and joy. And so I hope that our time together brings you deeply into the mission, but also into this moment of celebration. And I'll turn it over to Joe, but delighted to be here and happy to welcome you tonight.
Thank you, Sister. We've known each other almost our entire lifetimes. I think we were 14 when we first met, so it's a real pleasure to be here. And I actually matriculated here. Not a lot of people know that about me. So spent a semester at John Carroll, and it's always good to be back. Tonight we have a truly special event. We're blessed by the presence of Peter Mayer, who is the son of one of our founding couples, Selma, known as Sammy to most of us, and Jim Mayer, who was really the inspiration and the vision behind the founding of IPM, what was then called Partners in Mission, and has gone by IPM for the last few years. They, along with the Stragis, Paul and Brazil, helped get this organization started 50 years ago on May 10th. And so we celebrated in St. Louis with old friends, and we've been gathering here in Cleveland this week for our 50th anniversary International General Assembly. Literally been all over town, and some of us are fairly tired and worn out, but we have another day of activities. If you're free tomorrow, Dorothy and her spouse and Yang will be the featured speakers at a Cleveland City Club forum. And there are tickets still available, but you need to be there by 11:15, and that will be simulcast on WKSU and around the country. Today, we're fortunate to have, along with Peter, 3 representatives of the IPM family from the 3 places from which we do most of our work in nurturing a culture of belonging. Next to Peter is Julieta Bora, a longtime IPM staff member, and actually the fruit, if you will, of the first immersion experience program we ever offered, which was with John Carroll University way back in 2002 or 2 with your office, Sister, back in the day. And that led to her joining the IPM staff and a long career with us. She now coordinates our immersion experience programs. Next to Julieta is Mahesh Upadhyaya, who was a one-time board member and now a long-time staff member and is this director of our South Asian regional office from his home in Ahmedabad, India. An office sounds more glamorous than it is. If you ask Mahesh what his office is, he'll say his motorbike. And I'm not sure you're on that motorbike much these days, but that's some of you. I see some old friends who have traveled to India with us. He's been a gift to my life, my parents' lives, and everyone in the IPM family. And next to me is the newest member on the panel of the IPM family. She doesn't go back 50 years or 25 years or 20 years, but goes back 10 or 12 years. Miss Dorothy Nyango, who's the First Lady of Kisumu, Kenya, married to Anyang Nyango, who will be speaking with her by video from the City Club tomorrow. She is the founding director of the African Cancer Foundation, and we're thrilled that she's the vice president, vice chair of our board for Sub-Saharan Africa. So tonight we want to spend a moment together about what our colleague in India, Bindya Makwana, called Rhythms of Liberation, Challenging Caste and Racism Through Songs, Stories, and Sharing. We heard from Bindia throughout this week, but particularly today, sharing her personal story. And I know all of us are deeply moved by not only what she's been through, but what she's offering the IPM family now as one of our senior fellows in South Asia. So I'm going to turn it first over to Julieta to share a story, and then we'll be going back and forth between the panelists and Peter. I'm going to go off to the side, and we'll start. Welcome again, everyone.
Okay. Will I go first or you? It's gonna throw the coin, Dorothy.
Oh, Dorothy's gone.
Am I? Okay. Hello. Good evening. I hope everybody's fine and you've had a good day. Please answer me. Thank you. Let's make it interactive. Thank you. So as Joe said, my name is Dorothy Nyong'o, and the County First Lady of Kisumu. I'm also the Managing Trustee of Africa Cancer Foundation, which we set up 13 years ago with my husband after his successful treatment for prostate cancer. And so we provide services to the rural areas, to people who normally would not afford to get cancer screening, because we want to change the narrative and ensure that if anybody has cancer, that they're diagnosed fairly early in stage 1 or 2, so that they have better prognosis, and it also costs less to treat. So our focus is on breast, cervical, and prostate cancer, but we do handhold anybody who has any cancer through the medical system in Kenya. So much for my involvement with the cancer. I think today's theme is on belonging. And I just want to share the story of my second-born daughter. Her name is Lupita Nyong'o. And when she was young, she felt that she did not belong because she was dark-skinned. And would you believe it, that even in Africa, even in Kenya, we have issues with color. And of course, it is a colonial construct, because the aspiration is to be lighter skinned, to be closer to the white skin. So in school, she was teased a lot. At home, of course, she felt at home. But in school, she was teased a lot because of her dark skin. The boys used to make fun of her. I wish they could see her today. They might change their mind about her. But they teased her a lot about that. And she has written a book for little children. It's called Sulwe. Sulwe means star in Luo. That is our mother tongue. And so this book is really about her life. And it's about a little girl who feels that she doesn't belong because she's very dark. But it's a very encouraging story, because at the end of the book, it ends very positively, and the little girl feels like she's a star. And of course, as you may know, and many of you in the room may know, Lupita went on to become a star. And today she's a celebrated Hollywood movie star, and we're really proud of her. So just to say that the world is unfortunately very unwelcoming sometimes. We've just heard stories from India that are quite disturbing about how we always look at the other people as different. And yet, God created us in his image to be one people. And we are not different. Each person, of course, we're different as far as our fingerprints are different, but we're all the same. We're all part of the human race, and everybody is created in God's image. And so I just want to encourage us that even as we do this work, IPM, thank you for bringing us together. We have a lot to contribute at our little level. Each one of us can be the little hummingbird that, makes a difference. Thank you.
Peter, turn it over to you.
How are you all doing?
Good.
Well, I'm proud to be here with Dorothy, with Mahesh, Leota, and all the staff of IPM. My parents were involved in the start of this agency that embarked with a different mission of relating to people and healing the hurts of the world. And that idea was that we can operate reciprocally and in unity, not in uniformity, but in unity. And that we go as much to be touched by God listening as we go to be touched by God by telling. And I think that is a very humbling premise, but a very life-giving one, as seed to soil follows that storyline as well. So I'm going to play some music. I get to play this guitar, which I've been fascinated with ever since I saw George Harrison play with the Beatles. I was a very shy boy, so the guitar helped me to meet girls in high school. And I also fell in love with its sound. And my daughter said, way back when she was a little girl, she said, "It's amazing what you can do with a hole in the string." And I have a hole here, and I have strings that cover it. And I thought, someday I'm going to make a song with that title in it. So I'm going to play this song, see if I can remember the lyrics. It's on a new album that's called Songs for the Birds. But I love what it says, the guitar itself, what it says, because if you look at it, it's a matrix, and it looks mathematical, and yet it just has endless sound. It has cascading sounds. It has rock and roll. It has all these beautiful expressions that you can pull out of it if you're but patient enough to ask it for help. So this is called A Hole in a String. As if we all have to play the guitar. I hope we don't, because then I would be out of a job. But we all have a hole in a string to imagine into that God has provided. And if you're probably not old enough to remember this, but when we were young, when I was young, we would get Campbell's soup cans and put string between them and listen to a friend talk into it. That's what we made of a hole in a string. And it goes on and on. A fisherman casts a line into a river, into a hole in the river, and dreams. And I think it's fascinating to think of how we all make something happen in that way. It's called a hole in the string. Talk through the best friend. Talk about June, she's a girl next door, the summer that never will end. 14 years old with a golden string. What can you catch with a golden string? My friend the fisherman tells me, rise before dawn and slip out, find the hole in the river and think like a trout. You cast your line into the shallows and dream with flashes of silver made of marine. Flying, tying the hole and the string. Joni, she played the guitar. Albert, he tried to the stars. Worry about tomorrow. The sun's gonna find you being just who you are. Oh, what you made of gold and the string. The son, a daughter, needle and thread. The promise you keep or carelessly said, tattered and torn and mended again. God's high flying kite, fascination. Oh, what you made of the hole and the string. Oh, what you made of a hole and a string.
So my story starts in 1951, when my parents met for the first time. My father was Hindu. He came from a very religious Orthodox family. He belonged to something that is known as the Shankaracharya's Math. It's a seat of theological learning in Hinduism. My mother was a Parsi. She's originally from Iran. They fled Iran 200 years ago and settled down in Bombay. And they formed a new home. And then they fell in love. They waited 9 years for permission from both communities. They belonged to two different religions. They never got it. After 9 years, they decided they're not going to wait any longer. They got married. They ran away to get married. And they didn't have a home. They were on the streets. A kind soul led them into their house and rented it to them after a certain period of time. I was born in 1962. And they were worried about what's going to happen to their children. We have a coming of age ceremony when you're 10 years old. So they organized this beautiful event where all family members are supposed to turn up from both sides. And nobody turned up for that event. It was like a birthday party gone wrong. And I was wondering as a child, this is the first time I realized something is wrong, that we don't belong. And I asked my dad, and my dad broke down. That was the first time I saw my dad breaking down because it's the father's privilege to organize that. Anyway, it started me off on a long journey of trying to find out who am I, where do I belong. And my mother's side was equally orthodox. They never let me enter their fire temple where they worship. Even my mother was not allowed to enter the fire temple. So as I grew up, I started searching for my home, for my community, and then I met Meena, who was a trade union activist. You met her, that's why you know her. She was my friend, and then later on, we had a daughter, her name is Megha. And as Megha grew up, again, I started searching for meaning and for community. I was worried, what have I brought my daughter into in this world where we don't belong? Am I torturing her? And then I started finding people on the periphery. That's how I met Hasnain, who was a Dalit. That's how I met Parveen, whom Holly and Amanda have met. And then I met Joe. And because of Joe, I met IPM. And because of him, I met Papa Joe, I met Kathy. And I met a whole new world. And then I didn't realize it then that I was connected to IPM even before I met. And that I realized when I met Sammy, Peter's mom. I was in St. Louis, sitting there, and then I'm connecting with my old friend, Shanta. And she says, oh, I know Sammy very well. And that's how we connected. So I think what happened is that I started seeking community, and I found community in the periphery mostly and abroad. So I don't have a community back home. So it's you all those who are present here are community. Dorothy is my family. Julieta is my family. You are my family because I went to El Salvador, I was welcomed there. And then today I have Vindhya, who's family. You met Vindhya today, some of you. But it's a sad story that we don't belong anywhere, but it's in the world on the outside, the outcasts, and they are my family today. So I just wanted to be painful, but at the end of the journey, I still feel that yes, we have to continue that journey and find a home and create a new family outside. I just want to end by saying that there was another experience that I had. I started playing with a young child. I remember I was myself 8 years old, and I was playing with another boy who was around 7 or 8 years old. And then suddenly both sides came and took us away and separated us. A bucket full of water was poured on my head. And I went crying to my mom, saying, so they were purifying me basically because I had played with the untouchable. The untouchable boy also was punished for playing with somebody who does not belong to them. So there were two young boys who were separated. And that's the memory which has stayed with me for a very long time. So I don't know what kind of world we have created. Things are not so good back home. Things are not so good here either. But I think the journey continues, and I am hopeful. And somehow I'm more hopeful than I ever was when I meet a lot of young people who are trying to change the world. And I hope you continue to be part of their family too. I just wanted to say that.
We've been listening to stories or sharing stories like this all day long, and it's really inspiring to hear the courage that love inspires. This is a song that echoes that in a way, and that for all our complicated reasons to prove we are right or wrong sometimes, or righteous or wrong, love comes with a spark, whether it's parental love, whether it's love for man, woman, however it takes its form, it comes beyond our knowing and our ability to quantify and understand it. And this song is about how it takes the complexities and the proofs that we try to reason with the world and have it just our way, and turns a long story short, that this is a fire. This is a fire we're meant to enter into, and it's the only way our world and our continued love will survive. Long story short.
Words describe and explain. They are rolling like a pedaling train. Sometimes it's good news or a lonesome song. Sometimes I hear them just when they get gone. Yeah. Three simple words inside me burn. Just ain't it easy to show you hard to learn. But you crawl and fall and walk on out that door. Well, I could have loved you better We've come too far to walk out that door. I could have loved you better, but not more, 'cause I am yours. After all, my story is short. Long story short,
Oh, it seems it's my turn. Thank you, Peter. I just love your music. I think this topic today also remind me know about just one story, but many stories in my life and what I felt included, but at the time excluded. Certainly, art in all its dimensions, it's something that also help to people to come over and just to feel sometimes that you belong to something or to somewhere and or to someone. I remember that when I was just probably recently born, I cannot remember, but my mother had told me about this story. And one of the many times that you feel that you start a story to say that I don't know why the world sometimes is welcoming and sometimes it's not. My mom always told me this story about my grandmother on my father's side, that when my older brother and when I also were born, my grandmother did not receive us like well. And the whole story and the whole point that she had is just because, I mean, my father's side they're very Spanish looking. They have the Spanish heritage. It's very present in their family, more than our indigenous heritage. But my mother is she's more like indigenous looking, like brown skin, and almost all the family. And my grandmother on my mom's side, she was from a town that was very indigenous, and that her face was very beautiful and just like looked like indigenous person, and I was really welcome, and my brother also were really very welcome in my mother's side of the family. So, and for a long time, my grandmothers on my father's side of the family didn't want to know anything about my mom or my brother or me. And we live in a very small town so where everybody knows each other. So people came to tell my grandmother, hey, do you know your granddaughter? So she looks very much like you. And my mom said to me that my grandmother response was, no, she cannot look like me because I am pretty, and I am sure that she's not. And so I heard this story, and I cannot believe that she said that. But I remember one day when I was like 6 years old or something, there was a lady. We were buying tortillas in a place, and so my grandmother came by, and I was there. So, and this lady told my grandmother, oh, this is your granddaughter? She looks very much like you. And she said, no, come on. So I am pretty, she is not. And so the other lady insists, but she's white, she's blonde like you. I mean, she's really beautiful. No, but she's not pretty. So as a child, I really, really felt an ugly girl. And then, like I just continue, my brothers and I continue like receiving this type of treatment from my grandmother. And every time that we went to visit her, she placed a table very beautifully for her other grandchildren, and another separate table for us, for my brothers and I, that were with like very old benches and just like old furnitures. And she gave the best food to my other cousins, but us, we were given the ruined fruits and, those like bad food and ruined food. And my mom was always fighting with my father because she said, I don't want them to go to visit your mother because she is not doing well with them. She's not treating them well. So, even in your own family, sometimes you receive discrimination. But at the time, you realize that the world is not so friendly as it's supposed to be. But, in the course of my life, I've been through many of these experiences, but also I realized that sometimes that make you act in the same way that these people act against you. So, and there is one part of my life that, when I started in kindergarten, that I realized that I'm not that ugly, and they are not untalented, because, the teacher always asks me, oh, do you want to participate in this presentation? I said, yes, I want. Do you want to dance? Yes, I want to dance. Do you want to sing? Yes, I want to sing. So I start to realize that there are spaces where you are not discriminated, but you're wanted. And but also it's a matter of like, what do you think about yourself? And if in reality you believe that you're pretty, that you are talented, that you have a space. So, and sometimes for good or bad, these type of stories make you feel that you can come over all those things and just stop hearing what they say, but hearing what the people who loves you say. Like my mother always said to me, you are so pretty. And then I had another stage when I felt not discriminated, but I discriminate myself for who I was. And that is even worse, because You know, like people all the time was telling me that I didn't look like my mother, that I didn't look like my mother family. So I feel so bad about, and I feel guilty because I really wanted to be part of their family. I really wanted to be part of them. And there was a lot of time that I didn't feel part of them. But, you know, there are always angels in your life that make you feel that, I mean, it is not on them, it's on you. And that if you change what is in your mind, you can be welcoming and people will welcome you. So if you don't put this type of stereotypes in your own mind and you don't stereotype yourself and you stop doing that, you will belong. You will be included. And if you're not included, you reclaim to be included. And if you don't belong, you fight to be included. So I think that is one of the biggest learnings that I have had through my mother. Seeing her struggles and seeing her being so strong despite she also went through a lot of discrimination. It helped me also to, you know, to understand that I can struggle and fight for my own inclusion and for stopping my own discrimination in front of others. And it hasn't been easy because you always find, you know, places, people, or cultures that reject you just for who you are. But I mean, there is a time where you really take the courage to say, no, we're all equals. And I believe that this should be a philosophy of living. We should be all included. We should be all part of. We shouldn't feel like, I mean, I am from this country or this other and we are different. Of course there are differences, but those differences make us one. And you know, it takes time and I just can't remember, you know, this part of, sorry that I will talk about the scriptures and the Bible, but there is a passage on the Bible that says that we are one body with different parts. And is what we are in the world. So I would just need to believe about it, that I cannot be or I cannot do what you're doing there outside, but I will do my part. And I, you know, still part of the body. So, and why don't we say we are citizens of the world and not just citizens of my country? So this sense of longing also, it's inside of us. I can feel that I belong to here, as I belong to my country, as I belong to my own native culture that got disappeared, basically, in my country, El Salvador, because it was exterminated by the Spanish people. But I still have that heritage in my blood, and I can feel it. And I think that we can become an open house for everyone that wants to come and visit our homes. And our homes are not just the physically structure where we live, but it's our heart. So there is a song that I know that Joe remember from our first trip, but there are two songs that I remember that recalls me who I am and how much I am included, how much I belong to. And one is the song that is called Open House, that it says that we are all human beings. And it doesn't matter what the color or the race, but we have feeling inside. and that if we have good feelings inside, we cannot keep them inside, but give it to others. And once that we do that, we have a table for others and food for everyone. So it also recalled me to a song that I always use, or almost always use, in my Immersion Experience program, that is Blueprints. Because I know that blueprints, we are this milestone that build a new world, a new something, a new beginning, a new belonging. So I think that those belong is also about belonging to you. And I can give myself to you because I know that I'm taking part of you, and we are part and members of a family that never will end.
Thank you. She mentioned the song Blueprints, and the song was a request by a long-time Lutheran from way back. My parents were Lutheran missionaries. My father was a Lutheran minister. And so at one point I was called by an agency called Lutheran Men in Mission to write a song for their gathering. And the theme was Blueprints for Living. And I thought, well, it's a beautiful idea, but it sounds a little bit like hammer and nail, construction. And so I had to talk to my wife, who's the better lyric writer than I was. And so she helped me with this song, along with my brother Jim. And this is how it goes.
There's a wind that moves all around us, making the sound of a song if you listen. And yet we wander over the world toward a place to belong, to replace what we're missing. We bring our differences, our hopes, our feelings and fears. We'll build a home for love in this family, for the light that brought us here. In this blueprint for living, each new day is lifted up. For this house we build a foundation on the cornerstone of love. The face of this world is changing and turning. What are we learning, and what is our vision? We build the walls with strength deep inside us. They must not divide us, become a prison. We bring our differences, our hopes, our faith and fears. We'll build a home for love in this family, for the light that brought us here. In this blueprint for living that calls you back from where you wild in the forest. We're here long before us and meant for our children. We bring our differences, our hopes, our faith and fear. We'll bring home for love in this family, for the light that brought us here. In this blueprint for living, from the word that touched the earth, for this house we plant the garden, God's grace for our rebirth. Oh, let your voice be celebration, let your hand be lifted up. This is the day of creation, and on the cornerstone. La, 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 la.
So we're hoping that this would be fairly free-flowing, and Peter's going to offer some more music, but I think we can take a little time now. If people have questions or comments from the audience. I'm sorry. Can you hear me now? No?
This is off. See if it's off. This is on.
Yep. I was saying that Peter's going to offer some more music and some more reflection, but we wanted to open it up and give folks an opportunity to comment or to ask any questions of the panelists before we continue with the music.
The small turns heal the world. I have to believe that, or else I'm worth nothing, really. It's all over scriptures I've read since I was a kid, and yet we don't see it. We always thought we got to get it right or we're screwed. But when you turn toward some light, whatever that light may be in your own faith or whatever, the difference is made, and it's very, very powerful. And that's what IPM does. They do huge, huge, heart-changing, life-changing things in small ways, in small areas that grow like seeds in the soil. So this is a little something I wrote called Turn, and I like that idea of just, instead of erasing, Command Z on whatever you did wrong, you just make a turn. I know on this guitar, if I play, I know how to just pull little notes out, but it took me 50 years to learn how to do that. And you just keep turning, you keep trying different things. So this is called Turn. The long waiting winter's out. There's tides and tables, seasons of sun. I will turn, I will turn to you. Grace delights in impossible prayer, takes despair and dances around. Morning's child shouts out to the sun, I will turn.
turn, I will turn to you. Beyond the proofs of space and time, through the solid rock and frozen ground, comes bursting free indescribable light. You have turned, you have turned to me. Every face and fingerprint were sung to life before we speak. No place too far, nobody to meet. You have turned, oh, you have turned, and I will turn to you. You have turned, I will turn to you. Oh, come on, turn, take a step and sing a hallelujah. We're gonna turn now. Oh, turn, you have turned all night now. You're gonna turn, you're gonna turn, you're gonna turn.
Anyone else?
I got a question.
Yeah.
You think there's something universal about being left out? The humans at some point in their life go through some type of feeling left out, and then they got to find their way back, kind of like the song Peter just sang. You got to turn. Something, you connect somewhere, somebody connects with you, and all of a sudden you choose.
Any questions to the panel? Or
Yeah.
Anyone?
Anybody.
Anyone in the room?
Anybody in the room.
One of my favorite writers, Richard Rohr, Franciscan.
Yeah.
He says we don't change. We have no reason to change with the status quo. We're happy having our same meal, our income, the things that. And that's said with due respect to all those who are going through torturous situations. The status quo is really hard because it keeps you right in that groove. He said what changes us is great love and great loss. Like devastation and eternal love comes to find you, or someone rescues you at that last minute. And finally, you somehow are changed and you turn. And I like what he says. So.
Well, I truly believe that it's in you. Again, I can remember many times that there are people who obviously and truly wants to leave you behind and just really want to pull you down. And that is completely true. But it's also, depends on whether be if this is conscious or inconscious, but it happened. And there is people like that in the world. And the world is just like that. But also it depends on you too. And I learned that from my mom. My father was a man who always was betraying her emotionally and psychologically. But she was so powerful that she one day say, stop with that. I can make my own way myself. And she did it. And she's here. And beyond that, like I remember many times, like in singing, I was maybe not like the common voice that they wanted at church, but I wanted to sing and I loved singing. So I insist. And they screwed me out. Every time they could, they screwed me out. And I said, well, I want to sing. So now I looked for the different spaces until I got to a place in a choir that they say, oh yeah, your voice is needed here. And I start singing. So when I was 12, I became part of the general choir of the church. And one day, the Pope came to Pope John Paul II came to El Salvador, and they were asking singers of each of the parishes and the country to sign if they wanted to be part of the choir that will sing in the general mass of the visit of the Pope. So I said, I want to go. So my choir director said, no, we have better people. And I said, well, I want to go. And so I went by myself. I took a bus from my city to San Salvador, to the capital. I got to the bishop office and I said, I want to sing myself for singing. They did some tests, passed some, I don't know how it's called, some practices, some auditions, yeah. And I pass, and I say, okay, he's been lying me all the time, so I'm not that bad. So it's about you. It's about if you really permit other people pull you down, I think.
Yeah, I really have to say something about this. And I think I've died 1,000 times, but I've been reborn 1,000 times. And I think there's something in us, and something in us has to die for the new to emerge. I remember I was 10 years old and I was paralyzed neck down, and the doctors and everybody had given up. And I had all family around me waiting for me to sort of disappear. And then I had this strong feeling of the experience of the divine, something within me telling me I'm okay. And they thought I'd be paralyzed, I'd lose my hands, my legs, or some senses of mine. And within 3 months, I was walking. When nobody was around, I actually fell off the hospital bed and crawled and crawled and crawled. It took me 3 hours to move from my bed to the door. And I was feeling strong when I did that, not weak. Later on, I had many such experiences. And I think it was 97 or something. I was in the streets of Jerusalem. Again, I had just $5 in my pocket, no place to go. And I was wandering and walking around the streets, and I had to spend a month there. I met a Jewish family who said, okay, we'll welcome you home, but today is the bar mitzvah, so we can't take you home right now. We'll wait for our ceremony to get over, and we'll pick you up at around 9:30, 10. I said, okay. Again, I'm feeling very lonely, and I'm walking down the streets, and you know how Jerusalem is even those days. And without realizing it, I'm actually walking on the Stations of the Cross. I reached some of them. At that point, so at time, I already shared my story of feeling of not belonging anywhere. I'm neither a Hindu nor a Zoroastrian. Who am I, kind of thing. And then when you're feeling very lonely and very weak, and suddenly you have this sudden experience of the divine coming in. Again, I was in Spain at a later stage. I don't know how many of you are aware, but I was like walking on the streets, nowhere to go. Somebody suddenly stops and says, we have some space for you if you want to join us. I said, where are you going? And they said, to the Black Madonna. And I find myself spending a whole day there. And my Christian friend back home, she's dying, Lucy. She's got cancer, she's got 2 kids, and she's dying, And I prayed for her there, and all I could manage was to take one candle, and I take it back when I'm back home and give it to her. Again, that was a very lonely moment, and I experienced the divine. Then I met Joe, and in 2004 or 2005, whenever we met, And I get to visit you in El Salvador and spend time in Zaragoza. And you took me to Archbishop Romero's church. And she leaves me there and goes away. Again, it was a very painful moment in my life. And I spent the next 3 hours there, just nobody there, just me and in that church all by. I don't know which sister you introduced me to. And she left me there and she went off. And all these beautiful moments, I don't even have a single photograph to prove that I was there or to capture that moment, in a photograph. But it's here, it's right here inside me. So there are all these wonderful, beautiful stories about my parents who felt very lonely. I was telling you about this. My father was dying, he was in coma, and who turns up? Peter and Joe turn up. They meet him in the hospital. They do a prayer, and Peter leaves, and Joe leaves after that. 2 days later, my father is out of his coma, just for 2 hours, I realized later on. And I tell him, Peter and Joe were here. He said, were they? And I had recorded Peter's song, so I played to him. And he says, what a beautiful song. And then he says, Mahesh, you're not sung for me for a while. Why don't you sing for me? And then I sing a song for him. And 2 hours later, he's gone. So Peter was there for him. Joe was there for him. He was not alone. I was not alone. Nobody else turned up. None of my relatives and friends. My mother died in February this year. Again, IPM turned up. There was nobody there, none of our relatives, no friends, nobody around. And it was Laurie and Mary who turned up. And Laurie holds my mother's hand and says a prayer and says, your son is beautiful. He's a wonderful guy, and we met him because of IPM. In the meantime, my mother has actually knitted 50 scarves for IPM. And mom says, Acha, is he a good boy? She says, yes, he's a good boy. He's doing some good out there. And she said, okay, I'm happy to know that. So again, I felt, somebody or the other, when you feel you're very lonely and not there, the divine appears through other human beings. So I feel like, yeah, we are not lonely. And we go through a hard route. But yeah, it's very reassuring to know that hope is eternal. And God, we are not alone. God is always present. I just wanted to say this.
I'll turn it back to you.
Is anybody wanted to hear a song they haven't heard, or if you don't know any of my songs, I'll just make one up.
What about the swing set?
What's that?
The blue swing?
Oh, okay. Yeah, this is a song about childhood, and it was written by a good friend, with a good friend of mine, Chris Walters, who's a wonderful piano and keyboard player, and he had wonderful memories of swinging on just a childhood swing, and what beautiful beginnings he had. And
where does that all go down the toilet, when you get to be 50 and 60? No, but you have that sense of a fascination that children have, and so he had this song. And I just helped with a little bit of it, but proud to do it.
There's a boy in the neighborhood, swing set. I used to go there to play in the afternoon. Ain't it funny when you're 6 years old? Life's all fun and games. Oh, paradise in your best friend's backyard. Tommy's got a cool little swing. Little Lola had laughing eyes, but she really smiled. Then I saw her play on that blue swing. Wind rushing by your face, hair just a billowing. Oh, I've never seen anything so beautiful as Lila on a cool little swing. Oh, you're dizzy when you're up, dizzy when you're down, building up momentum when you're on the rebound. You've been holding Oh, they play red hot jazz after hours. Tommy works his mellow tones. Oh, me, I work a drink. Well, the band kicks into secret love. Oh, Tommy's got a go swing. You're dizzy when you're up, dizzy when you're down. Barely got momentum when you're all on the rebound. You better hold on tight, right in the swinging line. Oh, here we go.
Peter, believe it or not, I got a text question for you. So someone would like you to, a text, maybe it's a test. It is a test too. The test is what you would like to share about your experience growing up in India or your immersion back there after, in the midst of another election 8 years ago. Anything you'd like to share with us about that and what you learned about nurturing a culture of belonging?
Yeah, well, I grew up in a little town called Vanyambadi in India. I was born there. My parents went over on a Dutch cargo ship, or it was a merchant ship, with their first baby, my older sister Marie, and then had 7 more of us over in India. They were there, yeah, they were not Catholic. But 17 years they stayed, and they had 8 kids, so a busy life, and it was a wonderful place to grow up because there was no TV, there was no, we just told stories, we had a piano there, we got the first Beatle 45 RPM records, and life was changed, and my father preached at a little church. Well, so flash forward 50 years, I go on an immersion experience with Mahesh and Joe, and it was life-changing. It was really amazing. Part because I spent 10 days with IPM. I highly recommend this for anyone who hasn't done it. Their immersion experiences go, and you'll visit in Bombay Hotel, you'll visit the kite makers, with a huge dump behind you smoking. So big it looked like a mountain. But here we go into a tiny home where women are making kites together. You're seeing how what IPM's work is doing with little changes that make big differences in the world. And after my IPM experience, like Mahesh told you, we were there at the passing of his father. It was incredible. All these things that I will never forget. But after it was over, I went back to the little house, the compound we grew up on, and found it was just utterly devastated. It was falling apart, and it broke my heart that it had kind of laid to waste and is waiting. There's a big fight over the land now. So here, from all this promise, from all this love shared, you see also the devastation happens. And I think what I took away from that is that God is still as present as ever in the devastation. And our job is to listen for the next step. Our job is not to lose heart when an election goes the way we didn't want it to, or the way it did want it. We did want it to. But we step into it with the voice we've been given, and your voice out there, and you answer with some kind of kindness in the face of all this separation and division. So that's my sermon. So.
You could tell I don't do this for a living. I think there's probably a song in that.
Childhood song.
Yeah.
Favorite song.
Yeah. Do you want to? what do you want to hear?
I said, do you remember a Tamil song?
Oh, yeah. Well, every Christmas my father would preach at that little Tamil church down the road in Banyabadi, and we sing the song about the babe of Bethlehem, the Christ child. In Bethlehem, பிறந்தவனே போற்றி மனமே. In Bethlehem, பிறந்தவனே போற்றி மனமே. Saravatai paritanta, saravalavava, saravatai paritanta, saravalavava. Anantamayule tamarim palisakala, anantamayule tamarim palisakala. That's what I remember. I know it's.
Thank you.
We memorized the vowels. I don't know all the words. But if I could play just one quick Christmas. We're preparing for a Christmas tour that we do every year, and this is a song that I sing every Christmas that I wrote at the request of my pastor for a Christmas Eve service, and he gave me the request to write the song. I got terribly ill and was ready to pick up the phone to call him and cancel, and this phrase would not go out of my lips. Sing joy, sing joy, and so I was like, no. Shit, I don't want to sing joy. And I was like, sing joy, sing joy. And so I got up and I went to my room. And I'm not taking any credit for this. I picked up the guitar and just started coming out. So this is what happened. With a little edit. These days of winter have come to bury you. No sign of spring and no promise to carry you. No flowers blooming in your windowsill. And the beat of your heart is too still. And the beat of your heart is too still. Oh, sing joy, joy, joy in the morning. Sing joy, joy in the afternoon. Sing joy, 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 for the child is born this night. The promise is given to you. La, 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 la. Young children together, the children who wander, looking for dreams that the whole world has squandered. You've lost them, you've sold them for pockets of gold, yet you long to come in from the cold. Yet you long to come in from the cold. Oh, sing joy, joy, joy in the morning. Sing joy, joy in the afternoon. Sing joy, 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 for the child is born this night. The promise is given to you. Lying in the cradle, no warrior, no king of the land. Only this child will bring peace in the Father's hand. Singing joy, joy, joy. Singing joy, joy, joy in the morning. Sing joy, joy in the afternoon. Sing joy, 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 for the child is born this night. The promise is given to you this night. The promise is given to you this night. The promise is given to you. Sing joy.
Anyone else? Jim, did you? Oh, I think we have one here.
So thank you all for your incredibly vulnerable stories of the moments we felt in such a lonely place. And I think that's helped all of us kind of feel a little bit more connected just by your sharing that.
Here's what we say, first man.
Thank you. I think it's, we have a story, which says, there's a fruit, and they break down the fruit, then you get the seeds, then you break the seeds, and till you reach nothing. So I think when you reach the stage of nothing, things start happening. So I don't think if I have to relive my life, I'm really seeking anything. I think really we need to break down sometimes for the new to emerge. And I must say there are positive stories that have emerged from this. I think what difference it makes is that because of my experience, I started looking out for people who are similarly placed, who are going through that experience. And without even speaking to them, without even talking with them, I could understand that they are in that particular stage of life. And so all I could do was provide presence. And I realized that there are no answers, there are no solutions, but what you can do is provide presence, be there for them, and be available to them. So if they reach out, you're there for them. And let them not go through as painful a journey as one has done before. And I think that has led me to a whole set of people who have now emerged as leaders because I was present there. It's like an incubator. It's like an egg which is about to hatch and the chicken is about to be born, something like that. I can't explain it. I can just explain it this way. And some beautiful people, whether it's Hasnain, whether it's Parveen, whether it's Shashi, whether it's Bindya today, whether it's a whole movement where we had only 2 people initially, and now there are 16,000. Whether it's the domestic workers in Jaipur who are only 300 and now there are 12,000. So things like that start happening. So for some reason, I think we need to break down. And I don't mean breakdown in terms of psychological breakdown, but I think it's a breakdown so that the new can emerge. I don't know if that answers your question, but certainly yes. And I think that's how I've reached this far and come here today. Had I followed the traditional path, I would never have reached here. I would never have found community. And the community is not just community for self, it's community to create a new society, a better society, and a better world. So in the midst of tragedy, in the midst of despair, there's always hope. I think there was despair 10 years ago in my country, and there's despair now in this country that I see. And I'm so confident that there is something better which is going to emerge out of it. Sometimes things have to get worse before the better emerges. I think I better stop here, but yeah, that's what I needed to share with you. And I felt like sharing with you.
Okay, just to add to what Mahesh is saying, I think what works is to have someone else who is available for you, standing with you, looking out for you. When you're going through that situation, you may not know how to reach that person, but those of us who are here and have gone through that journey, when we become available and we're looking out for those people, it's crucial. So I'll give the example of my daughter. When she was going through all that, feeling ugly, and everybody was telling her she was too dark and so on, at home, she always was validated. And she talks about this, every time she talks about it, she remembers how I always told her that she was beautiful. And I was constantly affirming her, constantly making her feel precious. And that has gone with her all the way up to today. So having someone who validates you is just so crucial.
And as for me, I'm completely with you both. And that about having someone who validates you, it's so important. But also, like you said something important. Make yourself available for others. It's also a way to validate yourself, your thinking, your beauty, and who you are entirely. And I think I remember that one of my learnings, my first learnings about it, is when you are in these times or these moments in your life when you think that you're the only one suffering for things that are happening in your house because you're being maybe betrayed for your father or your mother, and you feel that your world around is just breaking down, or that nobody loves you enough, and that probably you're not important for them. So then you got to go out, and probably you want to come with your heart broken to tell your story to other person who is available to listen. But then you find out that you don't find the person who listens, but the person who wants to tell you what is going on with her. So, and you start with a big desire of being listened, but you end up listening. So I remember this part of my life, this story in my life about my best friend ever since second grade till now. And Joe knows her. That's my best friend in life, my sister, basically. No by blood, but because she's been my friend forever. When I came to know her, I was crying. I remember I was crying in the school because, you know, like there were certain situations in my house that made that my mom came hysterical. And so she beat me very hardly. So I was crying because I thought that she didn't love me. And but this girl came to me and said to me, what happened? And I start talking to her. But before I start telling her what was going on with me, the director or the principal of the school came to her and started to beating her because she was fighting with another boy, and she beat him very strongly. And, you know, then she was crying, I was crying, I remember. And she said, and I asked her, why you did this? And she said, I don't know. I just have these moments in my life that I just lose the control and I just want to beat people. Just like, and I said, oh, wow, don't beat me. And so, and I don't know how we end up, you know, like she was telling me her story, and I was listening how she, you know, we still were during the war time in my country. So she was about 8 years old at that moment, and she said, you know, like I kind of like angry because there is a lady in my house that they say that is my mother, but I don't know if she is my mother because I remember that when we were leaving our town, there were the soldiers and the guerrillas were fighting, and there were bombs and shootings around. And I just remember that I was taken, and my sister also was taken, and we were put in a truck full of deaf people or injured people, and we were brought to one place that I don't remember, and suddenly we end up in a refugee for children. And one day we were brought here to this place, and we were living in the hole of a tree for a long time. And then this woman came, and she showed up, and she said that she was my mother. But I didn't remember that woman because my mother I remember my mother was a really beautiful woman, but this woman looked like a crazy woman. But the problem is that now she's angry all the time, and she is beating me all the time. So, and I don't know what to do, and I just feel this anger, and I cannot control it. So at that moment, all the things that I was going through and my suffering just went away, because I couldn't believe all the atrocities and the horrible things that she had to go through, and how hard it was for her at that moment, being a child, having to experience all that. And since then, we learned that listening to each other, it was going to be forever. It was going to unite us forever. Because probably she made me feel at that point that what I was going through was nothing in comparison of what she was going through. So I think that sometimes being open and available for others is what in reality helps you to come to a place to overcome your own things.
Thank you all for sharing so openly and for that wonderful question, really powerful question. I was thinking as I was listening to each of you about the roles mothers and fathers play in our lives, and I know that I have what I think is a wonderful relationship with my own father, but did not have a similar relationship with his father, and I know he struggled with that. And Peter, there's a song you play often, you probably know which one, Harmony, that I think perfectly summarizes the role that parents play in our lives when they're at their best and when they're at their worst.
Remember all the...
Sorry.
No. Oh, yeah, this is called Harmony. My dad and I had a good relationship overall, but I was a shy kid and he was a blustering father, a hurricane around the house, and would yell, and he was a visionary, but he was also cast his words around as punishment once in a while. Let's see, so. Okay. So this is written for him, but it's really written for sons and daughters and aunts and uncles and red states and blue states and anyone else who is trying to figure out how to get along. Sings in harmony. Shoppers hurry by or make a choice. Main Street wears the same Christmas every year, and carolers repeat the sound and joy. Just an hour to closing time in George's Market. The old man wraps up chocolate and a beer. Says, fine witness, how's your boy been? He hasn't heard a thing from him this year. Hear the children sing happy song, must they close their eyes to see? It's a long way back to harmony.
found Chicago. It took years to shake the small town from his shoes. He thinks of home, then he thinks again, and sees his old man shake his head and disapprove. Hear the children singing peace on earth to this scattered family. Well, you can dream of home for Christmas. It's a long way back to harmony. It doesn't really matter if it's yours or if it's mine. It's the same amount of distance, taken one step at a time. Three more years, the choir sings in harmony. The old man and the market passed away, but his son still coming home to talk to him, to wrestle out a thing or two he could never say. Hear the children singing peace on earth to this scattered family. Well, it's never enough for all you try to be, but you're welcome home. It's a long way home, but you're welcome home in harmony.
We've had a wonderful week so far, and we have a few more minutes if anybody's really got a question they need to ask or a song they want to play. But it's been good to be with you here tonight as we prepare for our final day of the International General Assembly and the weekend where some of us will be scattered and speaking to others about IPM's 50 years. I want to thank Sister Catherine Feely again from the Center for Service Learning and Social Action here at John Carroll for hosting us, and all the technicians and everyone that's going to make this available to us so we can broadcast it later to others. I want to welcome you all again to join us at the City Club. Tomorrow check-in is at 11:15, and Peter and Dorothy Yongo will be speaking about their story and sharing quite a bit about health and nutrition and the challenges related to cancer, in particular in Africa. And I want to thank Julieta and Mahesh, Dorothy, and especially Peter for being with us this evening. So thank you all for, oh, Jim.
Talking earlier about singing, I thought maybe she was going to get up and sing.
Maybe they could do a duet. You could teach them Casa Aperta or something.
So my house is an open house for every one of you. So anytime you want to come to El Salvador, my house is an open house.
That was beautiful. Thank you so much.
Thank Thank you all, everyone. Thank you for being here tonight and for that beautiful and moving program. And I hope that you'll continue to join with us, maybe not for the next 50 years, but at least the next 5, in nurturing a culture of belonging. Good night. We hope to see you tomorrow.